Hey, I'm Kenneth Wajda. I'm a professional photographer here in Colorado. Welcome to another one of my photo chats. So today I want to talk about gear. Look at this beast. Here's a Nikon F3 with a very special lens, one of my favorites. It's a 20mm f3.5 UD, which is one of their first 20mm lenses. It's this big tank of a lens with a 72mm front filter ring, whereas they came out with later versions which are a 52, which is their normal filter ring for most of their lenses. But I was at an antique store and this one booth had this for $100, a 24 for $65. That was a pretty good deal, but I don't need it. And they also had some other ordinary lenses that I don't need, but the 20 for $100. And I called the owner, had them call the owner and said, hey, can you offer him 60? And he said, they talked to him and he said he'd do 80. I'm like, at $80, that goes for over $100 or a couple $100 online. And see, that's how I buy cameras sometimes. I don't really look for them, but they show up in front of me. I do go to antique stores. I do go to flea markets. Things arrive when I'm out and about. And I am in places that are selling stuff. But this lens is in pristine condition. I put it on an f3 because then I can use the high eye point viewfinder and I can see the whole viewfinder and I can shoot with a 20. And I love shooting with a 20. I certainly see wide. There are two kinds of photographers, I think. There are people who tend to see telephoto. They see little elements and they string them together. And there are people who see wide, and wide they get to like immerse the viewer into that space. That's me. I've always been a 24 photographer. Now I'm a 20 photographer and a 24. I just like getting in close with things and seeing where are we. I like having things being on edges of frame and in the middle of the frame, and I just find that a wide angle works great for me. But everybody doesn't like it. I know photographer friends who say, I'm definitely more of a telephoto person. But this was a sweet find. They're out there. This was not at a camera store. This was at an antique market. And like I said, that 24 for $65, that was a steal. And somebody will get that. And that's a really good lens too. It's a 24 2.8. But for a 20, and they did come out with a 20 2.8 further down the road, which still had the 52 front. I don't mind losing that half stop. This lens is supposed to be legendary, and it's a larger lens. I like large lenses. I like lenses that feel like real camera lenses, that have a little bit of heft to them. I like lenses that look like they're serious lenses. This one looks serious. That's me. I don't mind carrying the weight. The weight's not that much more. And for me, we're using some of the best equipment that's ever been made. It's probably a fraction of the price that it would have been back in 1960s when it was first made, and probably if you adjust for inflation, I could never afford it. But because it's an inexpensive lens, another one to add to the old collection, it's something that if you just watch out for what shows up in the local antique stores, in the local rummage sales, in the local flea markets, you can find things. I talked a couple weeks ago about the F100 for $5. Those things are out there. This is certainly one of the more prized lenses I've found recently, and it wasn't in a typical place. It was in an antique gallery. So if you are in any town, if you have one of those in your town, if you are driving into different cities and you see antiques on a billboard, like I often see when I'm traveling across the country, stop in. And everybody who puts an item in those booths and in those showcases is reachable. You can contact them and offer them lower prices, and they'll often take them. And it doesn't hurt to ask, as my mother would say. So I ask. And for $80, that's a sweet rig. Put this and a Rolleiflex in a bag. That's pretty much all I need. All right, that's today's photography, though. Hey, if you're enjoying these, hit the subscribe button. If you can support, hit the Patreon. I could use some more supporters. I appreciate the ones who are here. And I will be back next week. We'll talk more photography. As always, here's the good light.